What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Nuggets Top Recap. I am your host, Leonard Pinckney, aka Agent P, here to give you guys a recap of the Detroit Pistons and the Denver Nuggets. Really not a lot to go over in this one, but let's go ahead and get into it. First quarter, 30-33 mark. It's Detroit actually up 20-19. Both teams shot well, 50% to start. Jokic had taken 0 shots up to this point. 31-29 after one. Denver retook the lead. Murray was hot, 10 points with 2 3-pointers made. Porter also played well, had 9 points early. Jokic took 0 shots in the first quarter. Key to Denver's early advantage was having 9 free throw attempts. They made all 9, and Detroit only had 2, even though Detroit shot 52% for the quarter. 8:09 mark in the second quarter. It's 41-37 Detroit. Detroit's offense was starting to get into a groove, and the Denver attack was not providing much resistance against Detroit. That group that was out there was DJ, Jamal, KCP, Christian Brown, and P. Watt. Detroit actually increased their overall field goal percentage from 52 to 57%. Then things started to calm down. Denver retook the lead a minute later, went on a quick 6-0 run. That got Detroit to call a timeout, and at the half, it was 65-57 Denver. Great close to the quarter for the starters. And Murray was just on one, man. 24 points in the first half, playing really well. Denver shot 62% in the first half. Jokic, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, just facilitating in this one pretty much. And a really nice half from Reggie Jackson, 7 points and 5 assists for him. They held Cade to 1 of 6 from shooting and only 3 points. Alec Burks had 13, and Bogdanovich had 10. A note on Cade, that poor shooting in the first half, the 1 for 6, it might have lent itself with some pain there because he did not play in the second half, left with a leg sprain, so hopefully Cade is all right. At the 9-minute mark in the third, Denver increased their lead to 11, 74-63. A nice start from them, but they gave up a fast break layup, and Malone just called a quick rage timeout, got mad, and then the team responded after that very shortly. Over the next 5 minutes, Denver increased their lead to 17, 88-71, and 11-4 1 gave the Nuggets their biggest lead of the night. Jokic was up to 15 assists and 5 blocks at this point. It was crazy. 108-85 Denver after 3. They're cruising. They had given up 40 points in the last 2 quarters to the last 2 teams that they played, Golden State and Orlando, and in this one, they returned the favor. They dropped 43 against the Pistons in this one, outscored them in the quarter by 15, increased their own field goal percentage to 64% in this one. 7-minute mark, it's 117-100 Denver. Nuggets up big, but the Pistons did start on a 15-9 run for the quarter, so that got a quick timeout from Denver. 3 minutes later, they ended up icing the game, going up 20, 126, 120, restoring order, and that was pretty much your ball game. Nuggets win 131-114. Nice little note from that fourth quarter. KCP and Michael Porter Jr. were playing a lot during that little stretch. Jokic did not see the court in the fourth quarter, which is beautiful news. Murray started the stagger with the bench, and then Murray came off, and then it was MPJ and KCP as the lone starters playing with them. So really nice game from everybody overall. Not putting too much in this one because even though Detroit is playing a little better, we all remember that really long losing streak, so we don't have to take too many takeaways from this one. But what are our headlines for tonight? What did Jokic do tonight? Only 24 minutes, thank goodness. 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting. 7 rebounds, 16 assists, and 5 blocks. There's only so many guys in the league who are going to give you a stat line like this, which is why sometimes you go online and you see like the trolls for Embiid are like, oh man, he's putting up crazy points against every bad team. And like to a certain extent, like there's some truth to that, but like obviously the dude's incredibly impressive to do these things in 3 quarters. But you just see the dichotomy in approach between someone like him and someone like Jokic. And Jokic sees a game like this against Detroit, and he's like, if I don't have to score, I'm not going to. I'm going to facilitate. I know my teammates can be the ones to score and be good enough for us to win this game, and not just win easily, because we're going to generate a bunch of good shots and my guys are going to knock them down. Only took 3 shots tonight, 0 shots in the first quarter. He only took shots when he was like forced to. But he really wasn't forced to tonight. I loved his approach, and this is what happens when sometimes we get on Jokic for not being aggressive. Sometimes you take the right approach in games, and sometimes you don't. And this one, perfectly, I loved his approach in this one. Sometimes you're like, hey, man, those games we're in against like Nick Richards or like being guarded by whatever center, right? Nick Claxton against Brooklyn. It's like, hey, man, go put your shoulder in and go do the work. But like sometimes in this one, Jalen Duren is a strong kid, even though he's still bigger than or smaller than Jokic. But Jokic had the perfect approach tonight. Love how he approached the game. Just like my segue into Jamal Murray, who was red hot tonight. 37 points on 14 of 24 shooting. We talked about Jokic's approach being very facilitary in this one. Facilitary is probably not a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. Jamal Murray was incredibly aggressive. We talked about his approach in the last game being too aggressive at times, and it was. And I think that's the reason why they lost the game. But in this one, was definitely the appropriate amount of aggressive. 14 of 24, made 3 threes, 5 boards, 4 assists. Just did what he had to do. It's against Detroit. He knew he had advantage against anyone who was guarding him. Did what he had to do. Shout out to Jamal tonight. KCP and MPJ both chipped in with 18 points apiece. Talking about the others right now. Peyton Watson had 15 assists. Really big highlight plays. Reggie Jackson, really solid game off the bench, 13 points and 9 assists. Had a sick behind-the-back pass with his left hand to Peyton Watson on the break. That was really nice. And shout out to DeAndre Jordan in this one as well. Man, he played 20 minutes, so that's huge. 9.7 rebounds. Had a highlight Lob City throwback alley-oop in this one. It was crazy. NBA.com and NBA on Twitter even reposted that stuff. So, like, it was really cool to see DJ play 20 minutes, give big fella Jokic a rest, and go ahead and just handle business. And that's what Nuggets did tonight. Took care of business. Did Detroit. It's a home game. Get them out of here. And the Nuggets now move to 26-12 on the year. You're going to get a nice little break. They played the most back-to-backs in the league. And the other teams in the league are going to start catching up finally. So the Nuggets are going to, and they're not only not going to have to play, they're not going to play any more back-to-backs for the rest of this month. They get 2 more days off before they play their next game, which is not going to be that far for them. It's going to be in Utah when they play the Jazz. Thank you guys for listening to the Nuggets Talk Recap. I'm your host, Leonard Pinckney, a.k.a. Agent P, and I will see you next time.